Hello everyone, and welcome to my pink letter theory video. I'll be giving a rundown of the pink letter, some events surrounding it, why it might be fake, and other possible authors. For those who haven't read Dance recently, here's a full transcript of the pink letter. Your false king is dead, bastard. He and all his host were smashed in 7 days of battle. I have his magic sword. Tell his red whore. Your false king's friends are dead, their heads upon the walls of Winterfell. Come and see them, bastard. Your false king lied, and so did you. You told the world you burned the king beyond the wall. Instead, you sent him to Winterfell to steal my bride from me. I will have my bride back. If you want Mance Rayder back, come and get him. I have him in a cage for all the north to see. Proof of your lies. The cage is cold, but I have made him a warm cloak from the skins of the 6 whores who came with him to Winterfell. I want my bride back. I want the false king's queen. I want his daughter and his red witch. I want this wildling princess. I want his little prince, the wildling babe. And I want my reek. Send them to me, bastard, and I will not trouble you or your black crows. Keep them from me, and I will cut out your bastard's heart and eat it. Ramsay Bolton, true-born Lord of Winterfell. Before we analyse this letter, it's important to examine the events surrounding the sending of this letter. In Winterfell, Mance, pretending to be a singer called Abel, 6 spearwives and Theon attempt to rescue fake Arya from Winterfell. Their rescue is only half successful. The spearwives are captured and Jane and Theon are forced to jump from the Winterfell battlements, where their fall is cushioned by the snowdrifts, and they are picked up by Moore's crowfood Umber, who is working with Stannis, and is encamped outside the walls of Winterfell. Mance and the spearwives are presumably captured. Stannis is encamped in a crofters' village, nearby Winterfell, with his host starving and freezing to death. The village is sat between 2 lakes, and Stannis has locked himself in the watchtower, where it is said he is staring into the beacon fire, hoping to see some visions in the flames. At the wall, tensions are rising, as more and more wildlings are let through the gates. Jon is still at the wall, and is accompanied by Melisandre, Val, and Mance's baby, who is secretly Cresta and Gilly's son. So why might this letter be false? Well, upon hearing the letter, Tormund suggests that it might be all a skin o' lies. George might be telling readers to maybe not take the contents of the letter at face value. Furthermore, the letter says that Stannis is defeated in 7 days of battle, an unlikely prospect since he and his host are currently starving. If Stannis had lost the battle, then it would have taken far less time. The letter also asks for Reek. Theon is currently encamped with Stannis, and so if Ramsay had indeed won the battle, then he would have already recaptured Theon. We are also given some sample chapters from the upcoming book, The Winds of Winter, where a Theon chapter exists, and it shows directly before any battle. George does sometimes put events in non-chronological order, but it's something to consider. Another piece of contention comes from a comparison with 2 other letters Ramsay has sent. One is to Jon and one is to Asher, and both were sent before the pink letter. Both are described very similarly. Both are tightly rolled and sealed with a button of hard pink wax. Both are written in blood. Both describe huge spiky handwriting, and both are signed by Ramsay, Lady Dustin, Lady Serwyn, 4 Riswells, and 1 Umber. The pink letter, in contrast, is sealed with a smear of hard pink wax. There's no mention of the ink used or the handwriting, which are both quite noticeably striking, and the pink letter itself is signed only by Ramsay. We can analyse the letter to construct some criteria for who might have written it. Firstly, the letter mentions that Mance is alive and captured, and also mentions the spearwives and their number, things that not many people know about. The letter requests for Val and the wildling baby, implying that the author must have some knowledge of the wall and who is there. The letter mentions Reek, which is a name only current Winterfell residents and Theon know about. And finally, the letter is signed with pink wax, so the author must have access to a Bolton Maester or Ravenry equipment. The three key factors that we are looking for are ability, knowledge, and motivation to write the letter. Option 1 is Ramsay himself. The arguments for Ramsay being the author are that he is in Winterfell, so he has access to a Bolton Maester and ravens. He has captured Mance and the Spearwives, so he'd be able to torture them for their real identity and information about Val and the baby. We know that Ramsay calls Theon Reek, where most just call him Turncloak. The letter itself sounds a lot like Ramsay. The letter works to Ramsay's favour, provoking Jon into breaking his vows and getting him killed. And he would obviously want Reek and fake Arya. Some arguments against are that he doesn't have fake Arya or Theon when he should have if he's defeated Stannis. He wants Val and the baby for some reason. He mentions wanting to cut out Jon's heart and eat it, when Ramsay would want to flay Jon. And finally, the aforementioned discrepancies in letter styles. Another popular choice is Mance Rayder. Some arguments for this are that he is in Winterfell and could have access to a Bolton Maester. The letter is almost entirely about him and his family, who he would care about. He knows that Theon is called Reek. He has spent time around Ramsay and so could maybe imitate his language. And he obviously knows about himself being alive and the Spearwives that are with him. Some arguments against are he asks for Val and the baby, which just puts them in danger when they were otherwise safe. He has repeatedly said that he doesn't want wildlings to fight in southern wars, and the letter seems to want to provoke Jon into using the wildlings against Ramsay. The timeline doesn't work very well, as in order to write that Theon and Jane have escaped, he would have had to write the letter whilst captured, when he would not have access to a Bolton Maester. He calls Theon Reek when Jon doesn't know what a Reek is. He has no reason to want to provoke Jon in this way. And if Jon leaves the wall, Jon can't protect the wildlings who are with him at the wall. Another popular choice is Wyman Manderly. He would have access to a Bolton Maester. We know from a Davos chapter that he supports Stannis. He has spent time in Winterfell and knows Theon is called Reek. Quinn the GM, a popular Song of Ice and Fire creator, has already made a video claiming that Wyman is the author. Quinn thinks that Abel is secretly Mance, but I don't know where he gets this idea from. And Wyman isn't currently in a lot of danger, so he has time to wait for Jon to come. Some problems with this are, I don't think he knows that Abel is Mance. He doesn't know about Val and the baby. He plans to get Rickon from Skargos and install him as Warden of the North while he reigns as regent. If Jon comes south, Jon will probably act as regent or even rule in his own right, giving him less power. And Quinn has since changed his mind on his theory as to the author. The person Quinn now believes to have written the pink letter is Theon. Theon has been struggling with identity issues a lot, and is one of the only people stupid enough to refer to himself as Reek when Jon doesn't know what a Reek is. Theon knows Ramsay very well and could imitate his writing style. Theon is the only person in Winterfell to refer to the Spearwives as whores. Most people just call them washerwomen. He knows Jon well and would know how he would react to such a letter. He knows Ramsay is provoked to rage by being called a bastard and might assume a similar response in Jon. Some problems with this is when we consider that Theon knows Abel is plotting something, but he doesn't know that he is Mance. He doesn't care about Mance, Val, or the baby. He doesn't know about Mance, Val, or the baby. He has never shown any support for the Stannis cause, and he will soon be executed for the murder of Bran and Rickon. A much more likely contender would be the Manners himself. Stannis has tried to get Jon to leave the Watch in order to legitimize him. He knows that Jon's sense of honor stops him, but maybe thinks that Jon's love of his family is stronger than his honor. In the Theon sample chapter, we learn that he has access to a Bolton Maester, which allows him to send the letter, and is also a plot device that George wouldn't have put in without a reason. He knows about Mance, the Spearwives, Val, and the baby. He speaks about faking his own death. He has tried to get the wildlings to fight for him before, and he knows Jon well and how he might react to this information. The only issues with Stannis being the author is that Jon can't reach Winterfell with an army in time before he starves to death. He again calls Theon Reek, a very dumb thing to do, and he wants to keep Val and the baby safe. Val is for marriage pacts and the baby is for the king's blood. Now we come to my own personal theory. which is that Stannis and Theon wrote the pink letter together. Since they are both at the Crofters' village at the end of Dance, we can combine their knowledge. They know about Val, Mance and the baby, Ramsay's character and writing style, Mance's capture, and Reek's name. They have a Bolton maester, pink wax, and ravens, and all the knowledge in the letter. And the key idea behind this theory is the motivation. I want to establish the idea that Mel is trying to seduce Jon. When he turned, he saw Ygritte, her red hair kissed by fire. When he saw that, Jon's heart leapt into his mouth. "Ygritte," he said. "Lord Snow." The voice was Melisandre's. Surprise made him recoil from her. "Lady Melisandre." He took a step backwards. "I mistook you for someone else." He did not understand how he could have taken her for Ygritte. She was taller, thinner, older, though the moonlight washed years from her face. Here we can see that Mel has tricked Jon into initially thinking she is Ygritte. The Lord of Light in his wisdom made us male and female, two parts of a greater whole. In our joining there is power, power to make life, power to make light, power to cast shadows. Every man who walks the earth casts a shadow on the world. Some are thin and weak, others long and dark. You should look behind you, Lord Snow. The moon has kissed you and etched your shadow upon the ice 20 feet tall. So we see, by reading further into this chapter, why she might be trying to seduce Jon. Here she is talking about having sex with Jon. His wisdom made us male and female, two parts of a greater whole. In our joining there is power. She says power to cast shadows. So the idea is that Mel is trying to get Jon to have sex with her to produce a shadow baby. And this shadow baby will be more powerful than other shadow babies she's made before. The moon has kissed you and etched your shadow upon the ice 20 feet tall. There are other quotes that show that Mel is trying to seduce Jon, but the main outcome is that Mel and Stannis want to produce a shadow baby with Jon. They think that Jon won't leave the Night's Watch for any reason. Even if Jon were to bring an army of wildlings to Winterfell, it would not arrive before Stannis starves to death, because the blizzard would slow any army's travels, and Winterfell is quite far from the wall. However, if Mel and Jon produced a shadow baby, it could travel much faster and kill Ramsay or Roose. The idea here is that killing the Boltons would cause the Bolton forces to fragment, with most northern houses turning on the Freys to get revenge for the Red Wedding. Stannis would then gain many allies in the north and take Winterfell. It is also important to consider that the letter outs Mance as still being alive, something only Mel knows about at the Wall. Mel tells Jon about the letter before it arrives, with the instruction that he should come to her once he receives it, and make sweet love and sweet shadow assassins. There is somewhat of a spanner in the works here though, and that spanner is named the Night Lamp Theory. A very popular theory made by Brynden Beefish on how Stannis will defeat the Boltons. The theory is based off information from a Davos chapter earlier on in Dance. Davos is at the Three Sisters, where beacons burn along the coastline, aiding ships into landing safely, like lighthouses. On stormy nights, some sistermen would put out the beacons and make false lights, luring ships into crashing, where they would be able to steal any undamaged cargo. When Stannis was master of ships, he threatened to hang anyone caught doing this. Stannis' starving encampment has been overfishing the lakes next to the village, cutting many holes in the ice. The ice has become unstable, and people have started falling through. Stannis is locked up in the watchtower, which is serving as a kind of beacon, alerting his forces to where the camp is. There is also a blizzard that will hinder visibility, so the idea is that Stannis will put out the fire in the watchtower and light a false beacon by burning the weirwood tree in the island at the middle of the lake. The Freys will follow the false beacon and fall through the ice. The Manderleys, who are on Stannis' side and hate the Boltons, will kill any Frey stragglers and join their forces with Stannis. Stannis' men will disguise themselves as Freys and enter Winterfell, giving Lightbringer to Roose as proof of the defeat of Stannis. Stannis will then kill the Boltons inside Winterfell and take it. The biggest clues to this theory for me is that George never puts anything in his books without intention. The mentioning of the night lamp on the sisters has to be for a reason. Stannis talks about faking his own death, and castles in Westeros are rarely taken by force. They are most commonly snuck into or taken by treachery. For example, the castles we know that have fallen are Winterfell, which is taken by Theon sneaking in, and Storm's End, taken by Stannis' shadow baby, killing Courtney Penrose. The night lamp theory doesn't contradict the fact that Stannis and Theon could have written the pink letter. Stannis could have multiple plans in motion, but rather it's a problem for this theory because it makes the argument for Ramsay writing the letter work better. If the night lamp theory is correct, then Ramsay would have Lightbringer. He would think that Stannis has been defeated. Knowing that he's defeated Stannis, if he doesn't have fake Arya and Reek, the only other place they would have gone to would be the Wall. So it makes sense why he thinks Jon has them. It also fixes some problems with Ramsay writing the letter. It makes sense why he doesn't have fake Arya and Reek. Since he doesn't have fake Arya and Reek, he would be angry enough with Mance to want to kill Val and the baby. So Ramsay could have definitely written the letter. To conclude, the letter is either written by Ramsay or Stannis and Theon. Option B is more interesting to me, but I wouldn't be upset if George had Ramsay write the letter, because the letter is still a skin of lies, with the big reveal that Stannis is in fact still alive. Thank you everyone for watching. I want to give a special thanks to Alt-Shift-X, Quinn the GM, Preston Jacobs and Michael Talks About Stuff, all fantastic creators, whose personal theories helped me understand different perspectives on the letter. I want to thank Brendan Beefish for the night lamp theory. Check him out if you want more details on that. And I want to give a final thanks to the many artists producing A Song of Ice and Fire artwork. Their art has been very useful and I would not be able to make videos like this without them. I may be missing some key information that makes other candidates more likely. If so, please give your thoughts in the comments. I hope someday to get some confirmation on this theory, but until then, I'll be dreaming of wins.